I'm going to introduce Jane Glickman, Press Officer of the U.S. Department of Education. Would you please come up?
Yep.
All right.
Hello, everyone. I'm a dear friend of Susan Green's, and honored to be part of this celebration. I'm going to tell you just a few words about, in case you didn't know, why this award was established in her name. Back in 2002, when Susan's family and friends chose Value to be the recipient of donations in memory of Susan after her passing, it was because of Susan's deep commitment to literacy and to adult learners' resilience and courage as they stepped forward to articulate who they were fully and publicly. And then Value USA proved how right we were in shining Susan's light on them. They established the Susan D. Green Memorial Award in her memory to recognize adult learners who have taken a leadership role and who embody the qualities that were central to Susan and who she was in the world. And these are seeing the best in other people, reaching out to help others, and being a leader in adult literacy. And for the past 10 years, they have recognized learner leaders who are amazing human beings and whose generosity of heart reminds us of Susan. In a little while, we'll be honoring this year's awardees, but a few of us want to say a few more words about who Susan was to give you all a better idea of just who this remarkable person was. And as I said, Susan was a dear friend of mine. In many ways, she was like the older, wiser sister I never had. We both worked at the Department of Education, but didn't know each other. We worked in different offices and different programs and nowhere near each other. But one night, the two of us were apparently both working very late at night, around 11 o'clock, which can be a little scary in a great big building when you think you're the only one there, and all of a sudden you hear another set of tap, 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 another computer going. So we both heard it at the same time, and we got out of our offices to see who was there. And I was wearing this necklace, and the first thing she said to me was, "You're wearing a figa," which is a good luck symbol. It's like a hand with the thumb in it. And it's a good luck symbol from Brazil. And I had just come back from a vacation in Brazil, and it was an immediate connection because Susan loved everything about Brazil. You know, the culture, the people. She spoke the language, but especially the music. So we just became fast friends from that moment on. Fast forward a few years later, and Susan is looking to buy a condominium, and she tells me she's going to go look at one in my building. Neither of us knew at the time, but the unit she went to look at was right next door to mine. So she ended up moving right next door. And that started sort of the next chapter of our great friendship. We knew when the other person was up because we'd smell the coffee through the walls. So like every Saturday and Sunday morning, as soon as one of us smelled the coffee, we'd rush over. I usually went to her house because she had the bigger unit and she had this vast music, collection, Brazilian and jazz, and she loved to share it with me. So we'd drink coffee, we'd talk, we'd laugh, she'd play music. Lots of her friends would drop in. They were all fascinating and diverse, and it was just a wonderful experience. When I became pregnant in 1990, Susan was my birth coach, and so we shared another momentous, life-changing experience, and she was a phenomenal coach. So I asked Susan, of course, because she was my closest friend, to be my daughter's godmother. Then she was maid of honor in my wedding a few years later, and shared everything with my family. Like when my son was born, she was a major part of that. really, except for blood, she was family. I can't, there's no other way to say it. She was just the nearest and dearest to me. And, you know, shared every holiday celebration and, you know, what can I say? So in a few minutes you will hear from a few other people who will be telling their stories about Susan and just what an extraordinary, one-of-a-kind person she was, and I'm just so grateful, you know, that she was in my life. I'm so happy this award is named after her. But before we call the other people up, I'm going to read a letter from her sister Noni, who lives in the Boston area, who couldn't make it here today. Here's her letter. I sincerely wish I were able to be there today to be present for the Susan D. Green Award presentation. Growing up with Susan as my older sister was an experience. As the people there who knew her will tell you, Susan was a force of nature. She was smart, funny, creative, loyal, expressive, empathetic, generous, and nurturing. She sang and painted and read and wrote, and everyone who met her fell in love with her. We grew up in a home that valued learning, and neither Susan, Larry, that's her brother, nor I ever lost that thirst for knowledge. Susan read every book in the children's room of the Malden Public Library by the time she was 11 years old. I was an elementary school teacher for 36 years and loved every minute of it. I think Susan would be both proud and surprised that an award is given in her honor, but she truly deserves this recognition. I hope the recipients of this award will be, as Susan was, a lifelong learner and advocate for education. You should all be proud of what you have achieved. I know Susan would be thrilled to be a witness to your hard work and dedication. We all agree.